Hi, Jewish mom. This past Shabbat, my husband and I and our kids, we were at Nishmat, where my husband teaches, and the highlight of this Shabbat, it's the Shabbat before Purim, of course, Parshat Zachor, is that the students do spiels, like funny plays. And so my husband was the star in many of the spiels, not him personally, just students students like pretending to be him in different spiels, so in one of the spiels, one of the students made a reference to the Weisberg children, my husband's children, and said the perfect children, the perfect Weisberg children. And I was pretty taken aback by that, because I actually have like a lot of my kids. I have wonderful children. I get so much nachat from my children. I love my children very much, but it's like a lot of work, my kids, and I guess like all kids, and my kids also, like each one is kind of a project. My mom said that. My mom said once that she said each child said like each child you have, like your amount of children, it's like that to that power, meaning if you have 5 children, it's 5 to the 5th power in terms of all the complications and challenges, and I have 8 children, so it's 8 to the 8th power in terms of like just every child like has various things that they're working on and that I'm working on with them. So I just want to give you like sort of a short list of the things that are on my plate this morning regarding my kids. Okay, so one of my children broke a rule at school, and so this week we are meeting. We're meeting with the principal of my child. One of my children has to do has to start occupational therapy. One of my children, now already for not the first time, has lost his or her bus card. In Jerusalem, they have personalized bus cards, so has managed to lose his or her bus card again. One of my children has a particularly irritating habit, which I have not been able to help them get rid of. Another child has been misbehaving with a certain teacher, and haven't been struggling with that the whole year, and haven't been able to change that fact. And of course, there's little Yonatan, a 15-month-old Yonatan, who has been driving me crazy, opening up all the cabinets in the kitchen, and I haven't really been able. I sort of taped them shut, and I haven't really been able to. It's very, very irritating. He goes into the cabinets, it breaks things. Da, 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 da. So it's complicated. It's 8 to the 8th power, and as my mom has said, but I want to just put this into like the fact that my children have things that they need to work on, and that I need to work on with them. It doesn't really make them imperfect. It just means that they are perfect. They're perfect in their own way, and they're perfect for me. What do I mean? So Rabbi Niven, is my teacher, who I quote all the time, Rabbi Ari Niven. Rabbi Niven taught us a few years ago. He had a class about our life curriculum, that every stage of life teaches us something. All of it. Probably many of us went to college, and you remember, like, you took like economics 101 or biology 101 or literature 101 or whatever it was, and then the next stage until you were in like senior seminar. And life is like that also. Like life, there are different stages of life, and each stage teaches us a different skill. So I just want to talk about like what I have learned and what my children of various ages are teaching me every single day. So the first thing that I've learned with my very young children is my very young children taught me that it really doesn't help to get frustrated. With my very young children, I would get very stressed out with them, and I just was so frustrated with the like little irritating things that that small children do. For example, like Yonatan opening up the cabinets all the time and taking out the things and taking out the things. And I have to move everything up onto the counter and everything up onto the counter. So, for example, this past Shabbat at Nishmat, we were staying in a student apartment. So basically, at the beginning of Shabbat, I had to take everything out of like the cabinets of this apartment, all the plates and all the breakable things and all the open packages of sugar that Yonatan would love to knock over the floor. And this is the kind of thing that at one stage of my life, it would have been frustrating to me. It would have been irritating to me. And now I know it's not, it was in a book that I read many years ago. I don't remember. I think her name was Miriam Levy. And it's something that she called the frustration index. Meaning that like when something irritating happens, then you think, this is so frustrating. How can I not get frustrated? But the truth is, you really don't have to. You don't have to get frustrated. Like, that's the way it is. Kids are kids. I don't have to get frustrated when my 3-year-old, I put on his shoes, put on his socks, and put on his shoes in the morning, and I put on his kippah, and I put on his coat, and then, and then 5 minutes later, he's taking off his socks and shoes, he's taking off his kippah, he's taking off his coat, and he's, on bad days, he's also taking off his underwear and his pants. Okay, so the thing is, this is the kind of thing you used to be like, great, drive me crazy, and now it's like, no. I just don't, and I mean, it still does, like irritation does still poke through. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's like maybe 10% of what it would have been, 17 years ago when my oldest was a year old, when my oldest was that age, right? Okay, moving on. With kids who are a bit older, right? Let's say like kids who are in kids who are in elementary school or in kindergarten. So something that I learned many years ago from my teacher, Rabbi Talia Helfer. She said, like let's say the child that I mentioned with the very irritating habit. And this is a habit which I have spent a lot of money, buying prizes, like when they overcome the irritating habit, trying to get them to overcome the irritating habit, which is driving me crazy. Okay, so every time I see it, I just want to scream. I want to scream. I want to yell. I want to punish. I want to even spank. It makes me that crazy. And but I remember like what my teacher Rabbi Talia said to us. She said, when you're dealing with your child and your child does something that you don't like, you like your gut impulse is to have like a negative response. Your gut impulse is to be like scream at them or take away a privilege or say, okay, then no dessert tonight, or to for some mothers to spank or whatever. Like all of us have that, like the easy way out is just to punish right away and to scream. And she says, it's harder. She says, and she said this like 16 years ago. And I still remember, she said it's very, 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 she said very, very, very sour in your throat. I guess it sounds better in Hebrew when she said it. Very, very sour in your throat. But you should hold yourself back and do the positive way. Make a sticker chart. When they do the right thing, catch them doing the right thing, give them a prize. Slowly, my little kids have taught me the power of positive and slowly, and positive and slowly, and positive and slowly. And that it takes a long time. But it does eventually work, or they grow out of it, or I don't know. But it does eventually it's so much easier to just scream and be negative, but no. Hold yourself back with the irritating habit and with the child who keeps on losing the bus card, and the child who's even and the younger child who's misbehaving in class. Just slowly and positive, and do it that way. And I've developed skills in that direction towards with my younger children. At any given point, almost all of them are doing some sort of mivsa, some sort of sticker chart, which means for example, on Purim, I'm gonna have to get a bunch of prizes because a bunch of my kids have been doing projects where we're working on something for about 6 weeks, 2 months, and I'm gonna have to buy a bunch of prizes for Purim for those kids who have finished those projects. Thank God. Doesn't mean that their issues are completely solved, but things slowly and positively, things do get better. Okay, the thing with big kids over bat mitzvah, it's sort of taught me again, positively and slowly, and positively and slowly. And also that it's not about me. You know, sometimes a child can do something and you're like, oh, this is really embarrassing. This is really embarrassing what my child's doing. This is really embarrassing. What's going to be with my child, you know? And what will people say? And what will people say? And what will people say? And just remembering, no, like my goal, this is something that I say to myself a lot, but like my goal is to have children who are thriving emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Emotionally, spiritually, and physically. That is my goal. My goal is not, you know, my kavod, my honor, that people should see me and be like, oh, this is the child of so-and-so. This is the child of, oh, this is Hannah Jenny's daughter. This is Hannah Jenny's son. No, that is not, that it shouldn't be my priority. My priority should be having children who are thriving emotionally, spiritually, and physically, even if it means that that people will look at that child and say, oh, did you see that child who's doing X or Y or Z, right? And also a bit letting go, like remembering we can't control our children, especially at that age. We can't control them. Like they're becoming young. They're like, you know, in a few years, they're young grown-ups. Now, like they're kind of very, very young adults growing up into more adults. And eventually, very soon, they're going to be adults. We can't control them. They're not fully in our control. You know, they're not in our control really at all. And we can do and positively and slowly and positively and slowly and positively and slowly. But, you know, but really, we just have to, in a way, kind of let go and just let them be. They are like, you know, they're big kids. You know, let them be. Let them do their own thing. And positively and slowly and positively and slowly, but, you know, letting them be. Like knowing that we cannot control our children. So with that said, I just want to, in conclusion, I want to just remember, like every stage of life and every stage of parenting has its own challenges. And you know, every child, like every person is imperfect. But that means that with the struggles that we have with every child, it means that they're perfect for us. Like that there's things that we can learn from every single child. And so the challenge is figuring it out. The challenge is figuring out what is this child? What is the child that you're struggling with? What or not even that, you know, when I say like every child's a project, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're struggling with them. It just means like every single person is working on something. Every single person, and I and you and all of us, every single human being needs to work on something. So your child, this imperfect human being, you know, it's perfect for you through going through this stage with that particular child. It's teaching you exactly what you need to learn. It's part of your curriculum. It's part of the curriculum of a human life. So I want to bless all of your Yeshua with an amazing, amazing program called